I guess when the evening news tells you he's over there saving the world, you have to look at whose world he's actually saving. Hey, Canada, it's Earl. Mark Carney is over in Europe this weekend for a strategic summit, and the mainstream media is treating it like a coronation. They're telling you he's there to secure Canada's place in the EU Atlantic corridor. But if you look at the actual facts coming out of Brussels this Sunday, May 3rd, it looks less like a partnership and more like a liquidation sale for our country. Let's start with the associate member illusion. Carney and the EU leaders are currently hammering out the details of what they call advanced associate status. So, the media is saying this gives Canada a seat at the table with the world's biggest economic bloc without losing our independence. Now, the actual truth is that associate status is usually for countries like Ukraine or Georgia that are desperate to get in. It's like being a member of a gym where you pay the highest dues. You have to follow every single rule on the wall, from what shoes you wear to how long you can use the treadmill. But you aren't allowed to vote in the board meetings where those rules are made. It means we have to adopt EU regulations on everything from farming to tech, effectively letting bureaucrats in Brussels decide how a farmer in Saskatchewan grows his crops or how a tech startup in Kitchener writes its code, yet we don't get a single vote on what those regulations are. Oh, what a surprise. Here comes the Brookfield tie. The focus of the talks this weekend is the EU-Canada Green Investment Taxonomy. It sounds boring, but it's a list of what counts as a green investment. Brookfield, where Carney still holds massive financial interests, is currently pivoting its entire global portfolio to match these exact EU standards. If he aligns Canada with the EU, he's essentially making his old firm's rulebook our national law. Next is the critical minerals deal. While he's there, he's pushing the Critical Raw Materials Act partnership. So the narrative is that it's sold as helping our allies reduce their reliance on China. But the reality? Guys, it's another memorandum of understanding. We are agreeing to fast-track the mining of our lithium, nickel, and copper specifically for European car manufacturers. Now, here is the catch. There is no binding agreement that Europe has to build factories here. We dig it up, we take the environmental hit, and we ship the raw wealth across the ocean. This isn't a trade deal. It's a resource grab that bypasses the Canadian worker to benefit European industry and the global investors, like those at Brookfield who own the mines. Now, let's talk about the sovereignty swap, shall we? The most dangerous part of this weekend's trip is the talk of regulatory alignment. It's like your neighbor telling you that if you want to keep using the shared fence, you have to let him choose the color of your house, the time you go to bed, and what you feed your dog. Let's discuss the cost. By joining the EU's Security Action for Europe SAFE initiative, we are already paying a 7.5 million yearly fee. This weekend, they are discussing expanding that to digital censorship standards. If Carney agrees to align with the EU's Digital Services Act, it gives the government even more power to use those kill switches we talked about in Bill C-8. So, why now? What is Carney's agenda? Carney wrote in his book Values that we need radical change and that the old ways of doing things are bankrupt. He's in Europe this weekend because that's where his peers are. The elites who think the world should be run by experts and asset managers instead of voters. Now here is truth. While the Public Sector Integrity Commissioner is warning that our own corruption watchdogs are collapsing because the government refused to give them 14.3 million, Carney is in Brussels promising billions in Canadian support for European transition funds. The media wants you to see a statesman. I want you to see a guy who's building a bridge to Europe using the floorboards from your own house. They're selling our future for a partnership that only benefits the people in the private jets. Thanks for watching. Stay awake.